Welcome to Daily English Stories. Every story hides a world. Some inspire, some haunt, some stay forever. Chapter 1. The Secrets Among the Trees. Nestled between towering mountains and deep emerald woods, there was a village so quiet that the sound of the evening wind was often louder than the people's voices. At the edge of this village stood the Whispering Forest, a place wrapped in mystery, its tall trees casting long shadows that seemed to move on their own under the silver glow of the moon. The villagers spoke of it in hushed tones, as though the forest itself might hear. They said that on certain nights, when the air was still and the stars burned bright, the trees would whisper secrets carried through their leaves, stories of ancient times, of love and loss, of spirits that roamed beneath the branches. Some believed these whispers were a blessing, others thought them a curse, but no one dared to find out for certain, except for Elara. Elara was not like the others in the village. Where others felt fear, she felt curiosity. She was young, with eyes that seemed to hold the glow of lantern light even in darkness, and a heart that never stopped asking questions. From the time she was little, she would sit by the hearth at night, listening to her grandmother's voice weave tales of the forest. "Listen carefully," her grandmother would say, her voice trembling with age and wonder, "for the forest is alive. The whispers you hear are not just the wind. They are voices, ancient spirits watching over us." Elara would lean in closer, eyes wide, imagining shadows dancing among the trunks, secrets hidden in every leaf. To her, the forest was not something to be feared, but something waiting to be understood. Years passed, and the stories stayed with her. On nights when the village lay asleep, she would stand at her window gazing at the dark silhouette of the forest against the sky. A strange longing would rise within her, soft but insistent, like the pull of a song she had yet to learn. One evening, as the sun melted into a deep orange behind the mountains, Elara felt that pull stronger than ever before. She packed a small satchel with bread and water, lit her lantern, and stepped outside. The air was cool, tinged with the smell of pine and distant rain. Her footsteps crunched softly on the gravel path leading toward the woods. The closer she came, the quieter the world grew. The chirping of crickets faded, the distant calls of birds ceased, and even the wind seemed to hold its breath. Elara paused at the edge, staring up at the ancient trees whose branches wove together like the fingers of giants. Their leaves shimmered faintly in the lantern's glow, as if dusted with silver. She took a deep breath, steadying herself. Behind her lay the familiar safety of the village. Ahead stretched the unknown. Her heart raced, but she felt no fear, only wonder. "Tonight," she whispered to herself, "I'll listen." And with that, Elara stepped beneath the canopy, her lantern casting a warm circle of light on the forest floor. The path ahead was narrow, winding between roots and shadows. As she moved deeper, the night seemed to wrap around her like a cloak, heavy with secrets waiting to be told. For the first time, she felt the whispers, soft and distant, almost like a sigh carried on the breeze. She froze, her eyes widening, her ears straining. Were those words, or was it just her imagination? Elara's heartbeat quickened. She knew this was only the beginning. The forest had noticed her, and its secrets were beginning to stir. Chapter 2. The Tale of Eldrin and Lyra. The forest grew darker as Elara walked deeper along the narrow path. Her lantern swayed gently in her hand, its golden glow flickering against the ancient trunks, that rose like pillars into the night. The air felt heavier here, thick with the scent of moss and damp earth. Every step seemed to take her further from the world she knew, until even the memory of the village felt distant, as though it belonged to another lifetime. The usual sounds of the wild, the chirping insects, the rustling leaves, had faded completely. In their place was a deep stillness, a silence that seemed alive. Elara stopped, her breath shallow, listening. Then, carried on a faint breeze, she heard it again. A whisper. At first, it was so soft, she thought it might be her imagination. But as she took another cautious step forward, the whisper grew clearer, weaving itself into words that floated through the night like threads of music. Her heart pounded. She followed the sound, weaving between towering pines, until she reached a clearing bathed in silver moonlight. At the center of the clearing stood an ancient oak tree. Its branches spread wide, and its leaves shimmered as though sprinkled with stardust. The trunk was thick, gnarled by centuries, its bark etched with strange markings, symbols that seemed to hum with an unseen energy. Elara approached slowly, feeling the air around the oak vibrate with a gentle hum. Then the whispers swelled into a voice, not one but many, layered and echoing, as if the forest itself was speaking through time. Elara froze, her lantern light trembling across her face. "Listen!" The whispers breathed. "Hear our story." Images began to form in her mind, as vivid as dreams. She saw a man dressed in robes of deep green, his eyes bright with wisdom and kindness. Eldrin, the voice named him, a druid of great power, a guardian of the forest. And beside him appeared Elara, a young maiden with hair like woven gold and a voice that could calm storms. Her laughter rang like wind chimes. Her songs were said to heal wounded hearts. Elara felt her breath catch as the story unfolded. Eldrin and Elara had met beneath this very oak tree. Their love had grown in secret, soft and wild, like the flowers blooming in the forest's hidden corners. But theirs was a love forbidden by ancient laws, a love that defied the rules of their world. Yet they could not stay apart. Night after night, they returned to the oak, whispering promises, sharing dreams, letting their hearts intertwine like roots beneath the soil. One night their secret was discovered. Elara was banished, torn from the arms of the one she loved. Eldrin, overcome with grief, turned to the ancient magic of the forest. The whispers grew mournful as they spoke of the ritual he performed beneath the oak, a binding spell, old as the earth itself, meant to join their spirits forever, so they could never be separated, not even by death. Elara's eyes blurred with tears as the voices carried the weight of their sacrifice. She felt the ache of their longing, the power of their devotion. Beneath the oak, she knelt, pressing her palm to the cool earth, feeling the pulse of their love still alive in the roots below. For a long moment, she stayed there in silence, letting the whispers wash over her like a sacred hymn. She no longer felt like an outsider trespassing in a mysterious place. She felt connected to Eldrin, to Elara, to the ancient heartbeat of the forest itself. As the whispers faded into the night, Elara rose slowly. Her heart was full, her mind alive with the story she had been given. The forest had spoken to her, and she knew now that its secrets were not just shadows and fear, but memories of love so deep it had outlived generations. Chapter 3. The Guardian's Destiny. Seasons turned and the years slipped by like falling leaves. Elara grew older, but the memory of that night beneath the ancient oak never faded. The whispers still came to her on quiet evenings, gentle and comforting, reminding her of the love that bound Eldrin and Elara to the forest forever. She carried their story in her heart, guarding it like a precious flame. Then one autumn morning, a stranger arrived in the village. A man wrapped in a heavy cloak, his hair streaked with silver, his staff carved with runes that glowed faintly in the light. His name was Arik, an elder druid who had traveled far and long. He spoke to the village elders in solemn tones, his eyes deep with knowing. "There is a prophecy," he said, his voice carrying over the gathering crowd. "A shadow is coming, a darkness that will consume the forest, unless one rises to stand against it. The guardian is here among you." The villagers murmured in fear and confusion. But when Arik's gaze fell upon Elara, she felt a shiver run through her soul. He smiled softly, as if he had known her all his life. "You have heard the whispers, haven't you?" he asked. Elara nodded, uncertain. "Then you are the one," Arik said. "The forest chose you long ago." From that day on, Elara trained under Arik's watchful eye. He taught her the ancient songs of the druids, the language of the trees, the rhythm of the earth beneath her feet. He showed her how to listen, not just with her ears, but with her heart. Each lesson felt like unlocking a door she had always carried inside her. She learned to weave spells from moonlight and call the wind with a whisper. The villagers watched in awe as she grew stronger, calmer, more attuned to the living magic around her. She spent hours beneath the ancient oak, feeling the presence of Eldrin and Elara, their love guiding her, their whispers steadying her courage. Then on a storm-tossed night, it happened. The wind roared like a beast, the sky split open with lightning, and a shadow deeper than night itself spread across the forest. The villagers huddled in their homes, terrified, as the trees groaned and the earth trembled. Elara stood at the edge of the forest, the lantern she had once carried now replaced by a staff glowing with soft golden light. Arik's hand rested on her shoulder. "It is time," he said simply. She stepped forward, heart pounding, and entered the darkened woods. The air was thick, alive with a threatening hiss, but she did not falter. She followed the path she knew by heart, straight to the ancient oak. There the shadow waited, a shifting figure, tall and cold, reaching out to choke the life from the trees. Elara raised her staff, closing her eyes. She thought of Eldrin and Elara, of the love that defied death itself, of the whispers that had taught her what it meant to belong. From deep within her, light rose, a brilliant, pure light that spilled from her hands, her heart, her very soul. The shadow screamed as the light engulfed it, unraveling its darkness until only silence remained. The forest exhaled, its leaves trembling like soft applause. Elara fell to her knees, tears streaming down her face, not of sorrow, but of relief. When she returned to the village, dawn was breaking. The villagers stepped out, one by one, their eyes wide as they saw her. Radiant, strong, alive. Arik smiled. "The forest is safe," he announced, "and now it has its guardian." From that day forward, the Whispering Forest was no longer a place of fear. It became a sanctuary, a symbol of love, courage, and protection. The whispers carried not warnings but songs, timeless songs that spoke of Eldrin and Elara, of a girl who listened, and of the destiny she embraced. And Elara, standing beneath the ancient oak with the wind in her hair, smiled softly as the whispers danced around her. She belonged to the forest now, and it belonged to her.